Hey guys, no webcam today, but welcome back to my channel. What I'm about to show you is a very special Ultra Nightmare CB comp that is used in my free-to-play series called Free Smiles. And it is somewhat of a unique comp, unique in the sense that I haven't really seen anything like it showcased on YouTube at all, because of a particular champ I'm using in it, and to be honest, I haven't really seen any MYTHCASTer videos out there that much. Before I go any further, I do want to give a huge shout out to a very close friend of mine, Rats. While I was in South Korea this past week, I asked him to hop on my account and assemble an unkillable comp using my Demytha and Warcaster as a core. He created a 2 to 3 key Ultra Nightmare team for me with some champs that are barely even geared or maxed out. So make sure to check out his stream. He does tons of account takeovers for many people, and in my honest opinion, he is arguably the best at account takeovers at any level of the game, period. Now, let's get right into the build. Alright, this might be a little bit complicated, but I want you to bear with me. I'm going to be using Cardial, Feign, Skullcrusher, Warcaster, and Demytha. And I have a huge advantage when I use my Cardio with the Speed Aura lead, because I can tune everybody a little bit slower than they need to be and try to stat pad everywhere else that I need to. But as far as the speed requirements for everybody, I do want to give another shout out to deadwoodjedi.com, an amazing website where you can actually speed tune everything you need to. And basically, if you head over to this website, you can find an arena calculator, speed tunes, and Clan Boss calculator. And Clan Boss calculator is very, very important when you're trying to speed tune all your champions for that Clan Boss team that you're trying to make. So if you head over to the speed tune list, you can find all the different unkillable compositions, 4:3 ratios, all the different Clan Boss teams that are assembled there and created so you can use it as a guide. But the one I want to be talking about today is the Myth Tower. So this is pretty much the one I'm going to be running here with a Demytha and a Roshguard, but I'm not using Roshguard. I'll be using a Warcaster, who's pretty much the same thing. A 4-turn unkillable, basically, block damage, essentially the same thing. You can also replace this with a Sir Nicholas if you have that, but I'm using a Warcaster because that's what I have. So I do have my Demytha running at 174 speed. I do have my Roshguard, or technically my Warcaster, running at 248 speed, and these speeds are a little bit more, I guess there's a little bit more wiggle room between these right here. But if we go over what we have here for the Deadwood Jedi, he has a 186 for the Doom Priest or alternate cleanser or DPS, but my build is a little bit different. So just take it for what it is. If you want to go with this particular setup and you have a Doom Priest, that works very well as well. But I don't have a Doom Priest, so I had to compensate with that by using my Cardio, who can also be replaceable by a Brogni or a Datora or anybody else that can do a 3-turn, 2-turn cleanse, basically a block debuff. So that'll work as well, but a Doom Priest will work just fine at 186, but I'm actually using my Cardio in a different slot than this, and it's still working out fine. So I guess it's this slot right here, the 175 to 178, but that is pretty much the composition I'm using here, but here's the actual speed I'm using for my comp. So this is the screenshot of my composition here, and I'm actually running my Demytha at 155 speed, giving me a true speed of 174.38 because of my 19% speed aura from Cardio. And I also have a 168 Feign, whose true speed is going to be 186.81 because of the speed aura, 19% once again. And if you guys are wondering how the speed aura calculates into the speed, it's going to be taking 19% of your base speed stats, right? Your base stats, not what you have when you have all your speed added up together. Once you get that percentage, then you add that to the actual total speed that you are looking at on the stats total. So onto the Warcaster, we have 228 speed, who is going to be getting a 248.14 true speed, and then Skullcrusher at 158 speed, getting a true speed of 176.62, and then Cardio at 156, getting a true speed of 176.14. So that is pretty much the ordered composition here. We have the Demytha going first, followed by the Cardio, followed by the Skullcrusher, followed by Feign, and then Warcaster. Now onto the gear that they're using. I'll be going over their presets later in the video. So starting with the Cardio, as you can see here, we have him in a Savage set. So my Cardio actually smacks pretty hard. Yeah, he puts out a lot of damage. So here are the stats. He has 34,000 HP, 3,700 attack. Defense doesn't matter. Speed is the only thing that matters here pretty much. Crit rate, we got it to 79%. So most of my champions, I have him at least 70% crit rate because he's giving off a 30% crit rate buff to most of my champions anyways, and I have that up for majority of the fight, so I'll be having a 100% crit rate majority of the time. 227% crit damage, resistance and accuracy doesn't matter here. And I also have him fully booked out. And for the masteries, I have him going all the way down to the War Master. Now, onto the next champion we have is Fane, and you guys have to remember, this is my free-to-play account. This is the best gear I could possibly put on everybody. So, and for these stats here, we have, the HP doesn't really matter here. All you really care about on most of these champions are the attack, the crit rate, crit damage, the speed, and of course the accuracy if you have champions that want to land debuffs. And for Ultra Nightmare, the sweet spot for accuracy is going to be 235. And yeah, it's going to be diminishing returns the higher you go from there, but this is what I have for her right now. So that is the attack, 100% crit rate, 222% crit damage, 166 speed, and 4286 attack. And I have her fully booked out as well. And for the masteries, pretty much the same thing except for the support side. We have going all the way down to the War Master again as well, and onto the Skull Crusher. So the Skull Crusher is in bare minimum gear basically. All I really focus on was just meet the speed requirements, and try to get as much damage as I can, and that's pretty much it. So what happened here is we ran out of silver to, I guess, get the rest of the gear stacked up. And we were very concerned on hitting speed because we are at the correct speed right now. So once I get enough silver later to and gear to fully develop these champions, then I'll have a higher chance of 2-king more easily. Yeah, so for the stats here we have is 2700 or 1500 attack. It's pretty low, but we have him in toxic, so that's making up for a lot. 158 speed. Pretty low crit rates, pretty low crit damage, and the rest of it doesn't matter here. And I also have him I only have this booked out right now. I don't have this booked out. I guess I could get more damage off of this too, but yeah, this is all I have it booked out for now. And for the stats here we have is, so I do need to get him fully mastered so I can get this out too, but we have him going all the way down to the War Master. And onto the Warcaster, again, is going to be Toxic set. So I have 2 champions in Toxic set because Fane is not enough by herself to put out massive poisons like a Dracomorph or a Frozen Banshee. She does a lot of raw damage, but she doesn't put out massive poisons like those champions do. So these are both in Toxic to compensate for that. And again, at the time, I didn't have enough silver to max these out for further potential damage. And also worried about getting speed here as well. But later down the line, when I have enough silver to play around with, then I'll try to min-max everybody as much as I can. And onto the stats here is we have him in 228 speed, 1800 attack, 100% crit rate, as much crit damage as I can, and the rest of these don't matter here. And I do have him almost fully booked out. Actually, no, I don't. Yeah, these don't really matter at all because it's not getting me damage, so I stopped once I got this fully booked out, because the block damage on the 4-turn cooldown is all that mattered here. And for the masteries here, we have, yeah, all the way down to the War Master, and yeah, none of this really matters. Yeah, the last one doesn't really matter, so I just left it as is. Alright, on to the last champion here is Demytha, who is not fully leveled out either. So it's going to be a stats of 155 speed, 2700 attack, above 70% crit rate, 228% crit damage, and the rest does not really matter here. So onto the skills, we have yeah, we have it fully booked out as far as this part goes. 3-turn cooldown, block damage, continuous heals, and this one as well. Increase the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn, then decreases the duration of all ally debuffs by 1 turn. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. And this one right here, I guess I could fully book this out as well for additional damage, but it's not really necessary. And for the mastery, it's pretty much the same thing as the Warcaster, going all the way down to the War Master, and the rest here doesn't really matter, so I just left it as is. And again, I do want to emphasize and say that I am using a different speed than you would normally be using because I have the speed aura from the cardio, so that is something to keep in mind. But if you want to build this composition without the speed aura, and if you have like a Brogni in place of a cardio, or if you have a tutorial and you have everything else here, then you want to go for the exact speeds that I showed you earlier from the Deadwood Jedi website. So I do want to mention that this composition is not affinity friendly. The only affinity it has trouble against is going to be magic. So when I see magic affinity, what I'm going to do is swap out my Skull Crusher for a Gnarhorn, who is pretty much wearing the same gear as the Skull Crusher. Like, he's practically gearless as well, with no masteries, and the only same thing that he has going is the Toxic set and the same speed. And that's all I really focus on. He is fully booked out as well. And once you do that, it's going to be pretty much the same damage output. And everything else is pretty much the same. So that's the only difference. You just swap those two out and that's pretty much it. But other than that, every other affinity, this composition works just fine. And this composition actually does really well in Nightmare as well. But for Nightmare, it's going to be a slightly different setup. So here we go. We have Cardio at the lead with the speed aura. But the order of fight is going to be Warcaster, followed by Feign, followed by Skull Crusher, followed by Cardio, and then ending with Demytha. Now onto the presets for Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. We're going to be focusing on the Warcaster first because he is our fastest champion. And we're going to be turning off the A2 because it's not needed at all. We're going to be prioritizing 1 on the A3, which is the block damage right away. And in case you didn't know, there's no round 1, round 2, and round 3 in Clan Boss. There's only one round. And on the next fast champion is going to be Feign, and we're going to be prioritizing 1 on the A3, which is the defense down weaken. And then for the A2, we're going to be prioritizing 2 on that because that is a massive amount of damage as well with the poisons, as well as the attack down, but it's irrelevant. And onto our next fastest champion is going to be Skull Crusher, and we're going to be opening with the A1, and we're going to be delaying the A2 by 1 turn so we can make sure we sync up properly. So this will be the unkillable on himself and putting counterattack on all your allies except for him. And onto the next champion is Cardio. And for Cardio, we're going to be using prioritize 1 on the A2, which is the block debuff. And we want to make sure we put block debuff on everybody. And again, we want to make sure it's all synced up properly and nobody gets stunned. And for the A3, it's going to be prioritize 2, which is the increased critical rate, increase the critical damage on all your allies as well as the ally attack. And onto our final champion here is going to be Demytha. So for Demytha, same thing as Warcaster, we're turning off the A2. We don't need heals at all during an unkillable fight because everybody's unkillable, right? And we're going to be prioritizing 1 on the A3, which is the block damage. So Demytha and Warcaster are both putting out their block damages immediately on the first turn, but Warcaster is going at a 4-3 speed ratio, so he will be able to put out a block damage every single time to make sure nobody dies. So that is a preset of everybody in the order of the speed comp, but for Nightmare it's a little bit different. And for Nightmare, it's really simple. All you're going to do is manual the first 2 turns. So for Warcaster's first turn, the first turn that he gets to, you're going to be using A1, and then the rest of this is fine. You're going to use A1, and then next time around, you can just go back to focusing on the A3 as a prioritized 1. And then once you get to the Demytha, you're going to be using A1 on the first turn of hers, and then after that is back to normal. And then the only other champion that you want to extend is going to be Skull Crusher, but his is a little bit different. So his is going to be for the first 2 turns. So his first turn, you're going to be using A1. His second turn, you're going to be using A1 again. And then once you get to his third turn, that's when you can auto. And that's pretty much it. So again, you're going to delay Demytha and Warcaster's A3 by 1 turn. So you manual on the first turn of theirs. And then Skull Crusher, you're going to delay his A2 by 2 turns, so you manual the first 2 turns of his with the A1 twice. So now I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video. I'm going to run the key for you guys so you guys can see the outcome and the order of how everything goes. And if you guys need to slow it down, then feel free to do so. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and if you enjoy my content in general, please make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you all in the next video.